Imagine writing an entire app without actually writing any code. Just vibing with an AI, describing what you want, and watching as it builds a fully functional product. This isn't science fiction, it's happening right now. Welcome to Vibe Coding, the revolution that's letting 10 engineers do the work that once required 50 to 100. But what exactly is vibe coding? According to OpenAI co-founder Andrej Karpathy, it's when you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists. In other words, stop writing code and start describing what you want to build. The AI handles the rest. Y Combinator's CEO Gary Tan is all in on the vibe. He claims that 25% of their current startups have 95% of their code written by large language models. And these aren't just toy projects. We're talking about companies hitting $1, $10 million in annual revenue with fewer than 10 employees. That's unprecedented in early-stage venture capital. But wait, it gets better. Or does it? Let's look at what's actually happening behind the buzzwords. Take Gene Kim's experience resurrecting a dead Trello management tool using Claude Code. He describes the process as an exhilarating experience that cost $80 in tokens and 6 to 7 hours of work. Not exactly zero effort, but still impressive for reviving a 13,000-line codebase he hadn't touched in years. But here's the part that shatters the vibe coding fantasy. Far from turning your brain off, Kim writes, your brain stays constantly engaged. You need it to make sure the AI is coloring inside the lines. And this is where we hit the reality check. Vibe coding isn't about replacing engineers. It's about supercharging them. The best results come from engineers who understand both the problem domain and how to effectively collaborate with AI. As one critic pointed out, LLMs often suggest quick fixes that lead to long-term technical debt. They'll happily add another clause to your accessor function instead of addressing the underlying data inconsistency. Without human oversight, you're building a house of cards that will eventually collapse. And then there's the debugging problem. LLMs can generate code all day, but they struggle with debugging. As Tan admits, the humans have to do the debugging still. They have to figure out what the code is actually doing. Let's talk about code review, the unsung hero of software quality. Can AI replace human code reviews? According to experts, absolutely not. Code review isn't just about catching bugs. It's about knowledge transfer, mentorship, and building shared understanding of complex systems. An AI can tell you if your function is inefficient, but it can't explain why your team avoids a particular pattern based on hard-won production experience. The real transformation isn't replacing engineers, it's changing what engineers do. We're moving from specialists to generalists. As one Japanese developer notes, these days, specialization is becoming less necessary. We'll see more knows-a-bit-of-everything programmers because LLMs have broader knowledge than the average coder. So, what's happening to the job market? The data suggests two things. 1, fewer engineers are needed per project. 2, the engineers who remain need to level up their game. This is actually great news for young engineers struggling in today's tight job market. You don't need Google or Meta anymore to build something valuable. As Tan puts it, maybe it's that engineer who couldn't get a job at Meta or Google, who can build a standalone business making $10 or $100 million a year with 10 people. But there's a darker side to this efficiency. What happens when an AI-generated self-driving car crashes? Who's accountable when there's no human engineer who fully understands the code? These questions aren't theoretical. They're coming at us fast. The reality is that vibe coding exists on a spectrum. On one end, there's quick prototyping where only you face the consequences of failure. On the other, there are mission-critical systems where lives depend on correctness. Different scenarios demand different approaches. So where does this leave us? Vibe coding isn't eliminating engineers. It's eliminating the boring parts of engineering. The future belongs to engineers who can articulate problems clearly, evaluate AI solutions critically, and take responsibility for the final product. As Gene Kim and Steve Yeager put it in their upcoming book, there are times you want to prototype something and throw it away, times you want to solve a problem for yourself, and times when you're supporting mission-critical services for many people. The bottom line? Vibe coding isn't about turning your brain off. It's about operating at a higher level of abstraction. The best engineers aren't being replaced. They're being amplified. So is vibe coding overhyped? Yes and no. The reality is more nuanced than the headlines suggest. But the productivity gains are very real. What we're witnessing isn't the end of coding. It's the birth of a new relationship between humans and machines. And that's vibe coding in 100 seconds. Okay, more like 6 minutes, but who's counting? Hit subscribe if you want more deep dives into the technologies reshaping our world. And remember, the vibes are just the beginning.